What's happening, guys? It's your boy, the Boxing Lowdown, man, and we're here for episode number 61 of the Boxing Lowdown podcast. You already know what time it is. He's nodding his head. He's ready. The main man, Mr. Controversial, my father, in the building. We're ready to cook, man. Laura, you ready to cook?
I'm ready, man. I'm ready.
Well, listen, man, we've got another great show for you guys today, man. And Laurie, what are you saying?
I'm all right, man. Listen, we all know what's going on in the world. This COVID thing is just seemingly careering out of control. I mean, it's almost like you're in a film like the apocalypse. You know what I mean? But yeah, we don't want to dwell on that, and I don't want to get your video taken down because people have said when they talk about this type of stuff for too long, it can get them in trouble with YouTube. So we won't dwell on that. But what I would like to do, I want to start off this week's show by offering an apology to all of boxing. Yeah.
Okay.
You've heard me on this show constantly talk about the corruption in boxing and the Neanderthal and sort of shady characters in boxing. And I thought that boxing was amongst the worst sports in the world for that. Some would say, it is. However, last week, Sunday, I got up early and I tuned in to watch the Formula One last race. I think you know where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
I'm settling down now. I think, yeah, man, the Formula One. And I'm not being a massive Formula One fan, but in recent years, I have enjoyed watching it. So I'm sitting down there now, as I'm sure you were, Daryl, and millions were across this country and indeed across the world. Sitting there, come down to the last race, who's going to win the title, who's going to win the championship. If Lewis Hamilton wins it, it will get a record-breaking 8th world title. If Max Verstappen wins, he'll win the title for the first time. It's all set up for a great finale. Sit there watching it. Lewis makes a fantastic start. He's controlling the race. He's pretty much won the race as they're going into the second to last lap. Then the officials conspire to just take it away from him, man. With some of the most egregious sporting robbery that I think I've ever witnessed, man. You know what I mean? And it was done in broad daylight, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
As a gentleman used to say to me back in the day, at least Dick Turpin wore a mask. That's how bad the robbery was. This was blatant, man, in your face. And yeah, man, that really put a bad taste in my mouth for the weekend. But listen, man, that's the beauty of sport. It's the gift that keeps giving. Here we are again. And I'm sure you're looking forward to watching your favorite boxer this weekend, man.
Joseph Parker.
Joseph Parker's back, and he's going to save us from our COVID woes. And him and Del Boy are going to put on a fantastic fight this weekend. We're all going to love it.
We'll see.
Yeah, that's one thing, man. Really left a bad taste in my mouth, man. And I was sat there thinking to myself, listen, I thought boxing was bad, but this is wow. You know what I mean? That was the equivalent of somebody winning, that was the equivalent, say, of Kambosos beating what's his name? Teofimo Lopez. And then the referee just stopping the fight and giving it to Lopez because he landed a good punch and maybe staggered Kambosos. That's it. Finish. You know what I mean? But here we go. There you go, man. That's my little rant out the way. But yeah, it's not just boxing. That's the moral of the story. It's not just boxing that's corrupt.
Yeah, it's all around us, man. Big up to everybody in the chat, first of all. We've got some guys in here. Let's say hello to them. Francisco in the chat, as always. He's put here, do your thing, brothers. Harvey has said here, yo, hope you're both well. Let's get cooking. And Nathan has said here, some good fights this weekend. Beterbiev Brown, Madrimov Soro, Gongora Richards. So yeah, there's a lot for us to cook on. Let's get straight into it, Laurie, man. Let's talk about, first of all, the rematch that nobody asked for. Chisora and Parker 2 taking place this weekend. I know Stefan, my boy here, he's excited about it. Do you know what I mean? It's a joke. I'm not really fussed about this fight at all. I'm not really interested in it. But you know what? I'm going to watch it. That's just kind of how boxing has me right now. It's got me. It's as the way how it's looking as well with sports at the moment. This could be, you know what I mean? We don't even know how many events we've got to look forward to. So
yeah, I was going to say you might end up having to watch it because you're not going to be able to go anywhere at this rate. They're going to lock down everything. I mean, it's interesting. The government are saying we're not locking everything down, but they're telling everyone not to go out. So,
yeah,
sounds like a lockdown by another route to me. But anyway, to get back to what I was saying, yeah, I mean, it's fastly looking like that boxing on Saturday might be the only thing that's on because they seem to be cancelling all football matches as well now.
yeah.
Listen, man, I'm like you, man. I'm not excited at all about this fight. I mean, if you're Derek Chisora, then, fair enough. He deserves it, really, because he was robbed in that last fight. Robbed blind. I thought he won that fight clearly.
Call it a robbery?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I would. I'll call it a robbery. I think. Was there any dispute in your mind?
What? I can't even remember. I mean, it was. I can't even, I'm not even that bothered, man. But do you know what? We've been here before. We spoke about Kid Galahad and Kiko Martinez, and then we came back the next week with our tails between our legs. Kind of like, boy, you know what? We got that one wrong.
No, but that was slightly different. I mean, with respect, we were saying in that fight that we weren't interested because we thought Galahad was just going to walk through him or just beat him up and just, waltz his way to a 12-round decision. We couldn't have forecast what was going to happen. This fight's slightly different. We know it's going to be a competitive fight. It might even be a good fight. Because the last one wasn't a bad fight, really, was it? Let's be honest. We watched it. It's just that no one really wanted this fight. I mean, apart from Derek, who's made it known that he only fights for money. He's not interested in titles. What's that Canelo famous saying? Payday? You want payday? You want payday? So it's a nice Christmas payday for Chisora. Because he's on the record. He's, Del Boy's told you straight. I'm not interested in titles. They don't mean nothing to me. I'm just interested in getting paid. So, hey. It's not pay-per-view, is it?
No, it's on DAZN, isn't it? So it's just, what I mean? We get it as part of the subscription.
Yeah, well, you know what? I will watch it because I'm going to be indoors, isn't I? Let's be honest, man. I'm not going to go anywhere. Yeah. I mean, the whole passion and energy for Christmas appears to have dissipated over the last couple of days or so. So I haven't got anything planned. So I'll probably be at home, not doing much. And I subscribe to the DAZN. And so I might as well get my money's worth. You know what I mean? So, yeah, but to say that I'm excited about that fight would be a massive understatement because at the end of the day, man, it doesn't really get my juices flowing at all. And I'm pretty sure I speak for the vast majority of people in this country. I was going to say around the world, but that's a no-brainer. Maybe in New Zealand they're getting excited about it. I don't know. I mean, is Joseph Parker still highly thought of in New Zealand?
I don't know.
That last fight he had over there, God.
Talk about the one with Junior Fart.
I'll never forget that fight, because it was one of the worst fights I'd ever seen in terms of quality and in terms of entertainment. It was just rank bad. And then what shocked me to the point where I was actually laughing out loud was to listen to Joseph Parker and the other guy he fought. I can't even remember his name. Junior Fart, that was it. They were both in the ring, Daryl, like making these big, long speeches, congratulating. Yeah, I thought it was a great fight. You're a great fighter. We've let it all hang out tonight. The world saw it. I was like, are these two for real? I was like, what? Are you serious?
Dreadful.
I'd rather watch like two ranked novices at your court, amateur show than this. It was terrible.
Horrible.
And they were both in there, showing each other love, hugging each other up on some little like New Zealand bromance thing. Yeah, you're a great fighter, mate. That was a fantastic fight, I was like, bro, you lot, man. I think there must be some CTE going on because that was absolutely
dreadful.
It was woeful. And these two are in the ring congratulating each other and loving each other up and sending each other compliments. And I was like, wow, you two guys are proper deluded, man. But then, maybe in New Zealand, they thought that was good, but wow. But yeah, man, I'm not interested in that fight, really. And I think the same thing could happen again. I could see Derek. I think you'll probably see a better Parker this time. He's being coached by Andy Lee, who is a man. Andy Lee is fast becoming a man I respect. I know you're not a massive fan of his at the microphone, but the man clearly knows his stuff. You had to put Tony Bellew in his place last week. I'm sure we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
Andy Lee was a good fighter himself. He's been around, isn't he? He's been trained at Kronk Gym. He knows the sport inside out. And if you as a trainer, I think that's a good decision that Joseph Parker's made, actually, being trained by him.
Well, yet to be seen. I mean, what other fighters has he trained that's made you believe that?
He's got a few fighters, isn't he? No, but what I'm saying, he seems to know his stuff. So if you're Joseph Parker and you're trying to resurrect your career, then to go for a young trainer, because let's face it, Andy Lee, in terms of his boxing as a trainer, he's fairly young, isn't he? He's not long been doing it. He's going to come fresh with some new ideas. And, he's been there. He's been a world champion, Andy Lee. He was a top amateur. Like I said, he's been around the block in terms of gyms and stuff like that. He seems to know pretty much what he's talking about. Every time he's been on the microphone, he's impressed me with the way he imparts his knowledge. So I think that's a good choice. However, can he get anything out of Joseph Parker at this relatively late stage in his career? I'm not so sure. That might be a more arduous task. We'll see. But he should beat Chisora, shouldn't he? Really, let's be honest, man. Derek has got 1 foot in retirement.
Yeah.
Derek has said he's not retiring. The only reason he's staying in the game is not because he's chasing titles. It's because he's trying to get that back. You know what I mean? He's made that very clear. So,
Let's go to
on account of his youth and his greater athleticism to sort of run his way or jab and grab, you know what I mean? Because that's Joseph Parker. He's got a combination, and he basically his style, hitherto anyway. It's a combination of run and jab and grab.
Yeah.
And he's not very exciting to watch. I'm not expecting anything significant from him, but I think he's probably got just about enough left and added to the new trainer for him to eke out a win against Derek. But it could be controversial again, because we know Derek's going to bring it.
Let's go to some comments here, man. We've got quite a few here. Big Lewis said here, Parker versus Chisora, I will not watch. Stefan has said here, Parker is apparently hitting harder than ever and he's looking for the KO. Yeah. Where have we heard that before? I know Stefan's being sarcastic there. IB, big up IB. He's put here, Laurie may just have been a visionary saying, Bev, don't fall into that, IB. He's gone as well. He said he'll tune in later. IB, you're lucky you're gone. Because me and Laurie had an argument about that, last weekend. I'm not buying this. Benn would beat Porter. Porter's retired, first of all.
Yeah, he's retired because of what Conor was going to do to him.
We'll get onto that later. Let me get through these comments here. Asher said here, Del Boy never gets a close decision. Yeah, he has been pretty unlucky in that sense. Nathan has said here, there might be more interesting fights on the undercard. Zelfa Barrett and Bruno Tarimo could be a decent fight. Yeah, I reckon that could be a good scrap. And Asher said here, Parker is the problem. He makes every fight a bore fest, and he hopes that Del Boy chins him. Harvey says here, the Far fight was so painful to watch. It was awful.
You know what? I'm falling asleep now that I'm just talking about it. I suddenly felt a bit drowsy.
That fight was awful.
That fight was one of the worst fights I've ever seen. And then, like I said, afterwards, to see these two slumbering over each other, you know what I mean? Sending compliments and hugging, high-fiving, showing each other love, making these long-winded, vacuous speeches about how great the other fighter is. I was like, wow, get the F out of here, man. Both of you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Nathan says here, Parker always fights like he's going through the motions. He's a very frustrating fighter. And he's literally hit the nail on the head here, Nathan has. It's frustrating when it comes to Joseph Parker. We've been here before. We've said it a million times on this show. Joseph Parker, when we watch him, man, like, he's got ability. You know what I mean? You can see the talent that he's got. He's got quick hands. Do you know what I mean? He's shown resilience to come back off the floor and win. And like, he does have good ability, Joseph Parker. We just don't have that killer instinct from him. We don't see it. He doesn't put it into place. And like, it's just, I don't know, man. Like, it's just got to the point now where are you going?
I mean, even if he does every week,
like, you kiss ass with the Fury, you're there. He said on IFL today he would never fight Tyson Fury, and it's just like, I don't understand why. And like, do you know what I mean?
Maybe
where is Parker going with his career? Where is he looking to go? What's his ambition? Does he want to be a world champion again? Like, what is Joseph Parker's ambition?
I don't know. He's, he will tell you he wants to fight for another world title, but let's be honest, man. That I'm sure that ship has sailed. Because if he beats Derek on Saturday, which is, let's face it, there is a good chance he will. He'll probably get looked after on the scorecards and win a fairly wide decision. If he does beat Derek, where does he go though? Like, what's he going to do? Start calling out Usyk and Joshua and Fury? He said he won't fight Fury, right? He's already fought Joshua and got beaten quite comprehensively. So who's he going to go for? You know what I mean? What's he going to do?
Go for Usyk? Will he go for Usyk? Oh.
He's not going to get an Usyk fight, is he?
Nah.
Do you think Usyk's at home in Ukraine, like setting up late over there to sit down and watch Parker as a possible opponent? I doubt that very much. What's more likely to happen, there'll be somebody like Jared Big Baby Anderson. He'll be in America watching that thinking, yeah, that's food for me down the road, a name. The guy who's former champion, he's still active, he's got a name. You'll probably start getting called out by some of the young guns like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
yeah. Very frustrating to watch. Big up Shane Willoughby in the chat here. He's put here, yo, bro, what's the topic? Yeah, we're talking about Joseph Parker.
When is Bivol gonna retire?
I've got a comment about that. We're gonna get onto that comment as well. Stefan said here, I went to bed after Parker and Farr, and it was midday. That's how bad it was. So he's saying the fight put him to sleep in midday. It was terrible, man.
After that fight, I was congratulating myself for managing to stay up and keep myself motivated going. It was very bad. It's very hard though. Because honestly, that was one of in terms of, it wasn't just the fact that it was a poor fight. It's just the standard of the two of them as well. Yeah. The punches that they were throwing and not throwing, the hugging and the clinching, and you know what I mean? Just two guys, big guys who probably look better with an oval ball playing rugby. And I don't want to sound to that, you know what I mean? I don't want to stereotype too much, but I just looked at both of them and thought, you guys are way off here, man, in terms of quality. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like I said, if he wins this fight, I reckon he'll probably get called out because there are some good young heavyweights coming up. Maybe Alan Babbage might fancy it. You know what I mean? He says he can't get fights. I'd love to see that. I think Babbage would walk through Joseph Parker.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Shane's comment here, we're going to get onto that. He's looking to wind drop about Bivol. Laurie, did you see the GOAT Bivol last week? We'll get onto that. Harvey says here that Joseph Parker bums Fury. He does. It's cringy to watch.
It is cringy. It's
cringy to watch. Stefan says here, Parker has shown a really good chin, which makes his reluctance to let his hands go even more baffling. Yeah, it's just a frustration with Parker, man. Like, look, I've got him to win this Saturday against Chisora. I think he'll be more conclusive than the last time. I reckon that he would have learned a bit from the first fight. Chisora doesn't really strike me. It looks like, from what he's saying, he's just trying to encourage himself to get motivated rather than, do you know what I mean? It's not like he's got a particular beef with Joseph Parker. It's not like the Dylan White fight where he really had something on the line. He's someone that kind of needs to amp himself up. And it's not really been that kind of party with Parker. I just feel like it's going to be a similar sort of thing. Chisora will come out strong early. He'll get tired late. And Parker, if he puts his foot down, he could stop him. But I don't trust him to. I just think he'll win it more conclusively on points.
I don't think Parker will go for the stoppage, because I think if he goes for the stoppage and opens up, you know what Derek's like. Derek will try and hit him back. And then he, like you said, he'll probably score some shots and get cautious. And I could envisage someone like Andy Lee in the corner chastising Parker, saying, come on, let your hands go. You know what I mean? And he won't do it. You know what I mean? So, nah, man.
Ash says here, Parker so far up Fury's backside, it makes me sick. This is why he's not an elite fighter. Nathan will get onto your Bivol comment later. Big Lewis said here, beating Derek does nothing for him. Got a few Bivol comments here. So let's talk about Bivol. Let's talk about Dimitri Bivol. But let me get your prediction first of all for Joseph Parker. Big up Jeff in the house. Your final prediction.
You've really ambushed me this week. You know, you've started off by asking me about Joseph Parker. He's one of the most boring fighters in boxing. And now you're asking me to talk about Dimitri Bivol, who is probably the most boring fighter in boxing. You know what I mean? So thanks, though. Your final prediction, then we'll get on to Bivol's fight last week. I'm going Parker on points, man, in a real snooze fest. There might be some some elements or some highlights there, but that would probably be by Derek pushing the fight. I think Parker, once he gets hit, this newfound fighting talk that he's doing at the moment under Andy Lee, it will just evaporate into, like I said, a combination of running and jab and grab. That's what he likes to do. He'll throw a couple of jabs and just lean into a clinch. And then as soon as he gets hit, he'll just be looking to hold and smother and make it horrible. But he'll do enough in between all that to get a victory, I'm sure. Because let's face it, man, Derek is shot worn, isn't he? Quite badly. I mean, don't get me wrong, Derek has my respect. Tough guy, comes to fight. But he's also at the tail end of his career. He's not a massive puncher. Although he can hit, but he's not a massive puncher.
Yeah.
And like you said, Parker does have some very good physical attributes, one of which is his chin. He does have a very good chin. I'll give him credit for that. So I expect Parker to go the distance. And if the fight goes the distance, man, let's be honest, the boxing gods are going to give it to him. So there you go, man.
Yeah. Big up Sands here. He says, I think this will be Chisora's last fight and there will be a corner stoppage potentially. Could really be that. Yeah.
Even if Derek gets stopped, he will not retire. He's made that clear, man. The man's fighting for money. And, you know what I mean? He may... And that's it. So I don't expect him to. I'm sure Derek will have some excuse waiting if he gets beaten. If he gets stopped, I'm sure he'll say it got stopped too early. If he gets knocked out, he'll say I was winning and I got caught by a shot. You know what boxers are like, though. And he'll be back in the ring by February, March.
Against who? If he loses conclusively to Parker, how do you sell Derek Chisora?
Again, another fight for Alan Babbage. You know what I mean? There's plenty of heavyweights around who need older guys to beat up on, man, and get that.
Maybe
name
George
on
Fox,
record.
maybe someone like that.
George Fox. Oh man, don't even get me started about that guy, man. I actually met George Fox once, so I'm gonna try not to disrespect him, but he needs to have a word of himself, bro. Like, you know what I mean? How you could lose a fight like that? Too damn lazy, too busy looking good. You know what I mean? Admiring his own work, and gets beaten by a guy that he towered over, way old, probably old enough to be his dad. And you got beat by that guy? You might have to start asking whether you're in the right sport, mate.
Let's talk about, let's go to light heavyweight, man. Dmitry Bivol defeating Umar Salamov on points. Laurie, I'll give you I don't know if you saw my video this week that I uploaded on the channel, and it was I gave my post-fight review to that fight. And look, I mean, some people are gonna hail the performance in terms of Bivol's technical abilities, saying he put on a clinic. For me, I'm just bored of the whole Bivol Beterbiev situation right now. I acknowledge that they're both very good fighters, the top two in the division, in a very talented division. You got to give them their respect on that. But right now, for me, like I said in the video, I'm bored with particularly Bivol and Beterbiev. Beterbiev's got a good fight this weekend against Brown, but why these two are not actively calling each other out? Why I'm not seeing these two, convincingly say, look, I want him. Let's make this happen. I'm not seeing it. And I'm just wondering, where are we going? Are these guys just sitting here waiting for a Canelo payday? The Bivol fight was really frustrating for me watching that Bivol fight, because you had the opponent at your mercy. You knew he wasn't going to beat you. You had him beaten. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes it's good to just see you just put your foot on the pedal and take a guy out of there. Do you know what I mean? Like, for me, there was no reason that fight could have easily been stopped, like, in the later rounds. But I just didn't see it. And I'm just kind of getting used to that thing with Bivol now, where you're just going through the motions. I'm not seeing anything. You're not exciting me in the ring. You're not exciting me out the ring. You're not saying anything. Like, where are we going? What's your thoughts on this, man? Because not everyone agrees with me. Stefan says here Bivol was sensational. But, like, do you know what I mean? Like, so some people do rate what he said there. They do think that he's the best light heavyweight in the world. Like I said, he did put on a clinic. It was a shutout win, literally a shutout. But I'm just left wanting more. I just want more in this situation. But I just feel like with his ability, we're not getting the full package here, for me.
I mean, listen, I didn't see the whole fight because I was made aware of what a stinker it was. So I just saw some highlights on YouTube and stuff like that. Listen, we know that Bivol is a quality operator, but his career, man, has been managed to dust. Let's be honest, man. And he seems to be quite content with that, isn't he? He's not like, I can't see Bivol knocking down his promoter's door and saying, "Get me the big fights." You know what I mean? He just wants to keep that title in plain sight. And it seems to be some strange Eastern European pact going on between him and Beterbiev that not only will they not fight each other, they won't even mention each other's names. You know what I mean? So he's just going to hang around like a bad smell, man, for the foreseeable future until he fights somebody that is going to test him. You know what I mean? This must be a troll when someone's saying Bivol's the best at 175.
Nah, Ash knows his stuff.
Well, I don't know how you can say
No,
that. What has Bivol done for these people to be saying he's the best at 175?
well, I disagree. I think
is
Beterbiev is the best at 175.
Yeah, but what has Bivol done though? To what? Because he outpointed Craig Richards, because he outpointed that guy last week, because he beat Joe Smith when Joe Smith was a part-time boxer working on a construction site all day and then going to the gym at 8 at night. You beat him on points. Wow, fantastic. What has Bivol done for somebody to say he's the best at 175? Yes, we know, like I've said before, I've acknowledged that he's a good boxer, but he doesn't want to fight often, that's for sure. And then, like I said, he don't want to fight anyone decent. There's a whole host of fighters he's been ducking, including my boy Zerdo. They clearly don't want no smoke with him. And yeah, man, he's just stinking out the joint, bro. Simple as that. And he's obviously his management team and his promotional team are not as confident in him as people like Ash are. Because if they were, they'd be going after the bigger fights and putting their name out there, trying to secure the bigger fights, calling man out. That's how you do it. But yeah, I'll give you that. He's a good boxer. No one can, when you watch him, you know he's very good, very sound. He seems to have pretty much all the necessary attributes. I mean, listen, man, he's a world champion. You can't, although we laugh and joke, you know what I mean? At the end of the day, man, he's got to a very high level in the sport. Again, he was a very good amateur. He's technically proficient. It's just that his whole sort of demeanor, the way he fights, the way he conducts himself outside the ring is just not good for boxing, man. For me, anyway.
Shane says here, Bivol is boring because he's too good.
Too good against who, though? That's the thing about guys like Shane. You know, keep with this narrative about, oh, he's really good, he's brilliant, he's excellent. Yeah, but he's doing what he's expected to do. Was he really expecting that guy last week? Was he expecting that guy to even have a remote chance of beating him? When has Bivol really put himself out there to say, yeah, man, you know what I mean? I want this. I want to fight the best. Never. He's never done that yet.
Yeah.
He called out Canelo when Canelo was super middleweight or a middleweight or something like that. Now that Canelo stepped up and beat Kovalev, he kind of went quiet on that one. So, man, get out of here with that, man.
Michael Maxwell, big up Michael Maxwell, man. He's put here, Bivol needs a proper fight. I said that in my video. I said he needs a big fight and fast. We need to see it. We need to see him in. Let's see him tested against Beterbiev, man. Let's see him fight someone like the top light heavyweight. He can fight and beat them. I've got no doubt. He's got the ability to do it, but we just need to see it. Shane
does he think he's got the ability?
Shane says here, bro.
That's the thing. You know what I mean? Him and his management team, do they think he has the ability to take on and beat these top guys? Clearly not, because he don't want to fight no one.
Even Shane's admitting it here. Even Shane's admitting it. He's put, bro, you guys know I love Bivol. In all honesty, I'm getting bored as well. It's not enough from Bivol. And this is Bivol's one of his biggest fans right here. Yeah. And he's saying it. Shane's keeping it real.
I think what Bivol's looking to do, Daryl, many years ago, I used to get some of the fighters in Germany do this type of thing. So they'd win a title, right? And then they'd fight almost exclusively in their own country against fairly nondescript opponents. And then they would retire either unbeaten or maybe with one loss or one draw, and then they'd start calling themselves one of the best champions ever. Used to be a well-known, Henry Masker did it. There was a few of those guys who did it, like everywhere as well. You know what I mean? So they'll fight the obscure opponents in their own country, stink the joint out time after time, beating these guys who, you know, haven't got a cat in hell's chance of winning. And then they will retire with these like excellent records, and in, you know, in their own countries or, you know, where they're based, they go down as a legend, but to those of us in the boxing world who really know our stuff, you think, come on, man. Yeah, you were a good fighter, but really, you know what I mean? You just fought a load of guys that were not very good, and you were just hiding in plain sight, basically.
Mm-hmm. What about
Bivol
what
doesn't want
Francisco
no
says here?
part of Zerdo, man. You know what I mean? That was
What about what he says there about Zerdo? You don't think he would? If Zerdo wins this weekend, he's in prime position to fight Bivol.
yeah, but don't expect Bivol to try and get that fight made. He will probably do everything he can to avoid it.
But why? If he's that good, then surely we should be seeing that. What's the
Well,
issue
this
here?
is what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying to the likes of Ash and to the likes of Shane. And I've said this to Shane many times. We've spoken on the phone, and I've said, why is this guy not fighting nobody? And even Shane, who's one of Bivol's staunchest advocates, and you know, Bivol, sorry, you know, Shane likes to talk. Even he couldn't come up with anything. So now he's had to admit, so yeah, even I'm getting bored of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I'm not being funny, Daryl. It is, especially if you're a good boxer, against certain opponents, you can look like, wow, the next coming of Ali. You know what I mean? If you got the right opponent to make you look good. So when people say to me, yeah, he's very skilled, we know that. But when you're going to take on the challenges, part of being a top fighter is for you to take on the best and beat the best. Show us what you really got. Bivol doesn't want that, man. He don't want that smoke.
Big up Bruce here. He says here, are you Robbie's brother from AFTV?
The clue is in the name. Yes, I am. The older, but better looking version.
Sans here has said here, Bivol has been champion since 2016, but he's fought no elite fighter. Mohammed says here, they're both waiting for a Canelo payday. That's why they're not fighting each other.
You want payday? You want payday?
Yeah. Harvey says here, he's got a great jab. He's got a fantastic jab, Dimitri Bivol.
You know what? I've just thought of a good opponent for Dimitri Bivol at light heavyweight.
Who?
Tommy Fury pulled out. What about Bivol versus Jake Paul? That's the kind of fight.
Well,
he'd probably do more numbers against Jake Paul than he'd done for all his fights so far collectively. Because no one wants to watch Bivol, bro. Apart from Ash and Shane. That's it.
Stefan says here, Zerdo has been around forever and has had a far more padded record than Bivol. Didn't fight any of the top guys at 168 before moving up. What's your thoughts on that?
I wouldn't argue with that, man. And listen, Zerdo is becoming a bit of a boogeyman because my sources or people I rely on and trust say to me that Canelo has also ducked Zerdo. So,
and Shane saying it here, Zerdo's been ducked by a lot of fighters, man.
Yeah.
DS has said here, I stand by my statement that Yard has a shot against Bivol. He's very talented, but I'm not sure he's the guy many think he is. So he did say that last week. He's saying it again this week. A few people were kind of laughing that off, saying, boy, nah, man, nah, don't be silly.
No, but I said that on your show last week.
You said it, yeah, you said it as well.
Yeah, I said Yard has got a chance against any light heavyweight. Because like I said, you look at Yard, he's a beast for the weight in terms of his physicality. He can punch. He's got great natural athleticism. He's got the heart, I'm sure of it. And, you know what I mean? He's approaching the prime of his career.
Yeah.
And, you know what I mean? You know what it's like when guys are hungry, man. You know what I mean? Yard looks hungry to me. So if you put Bivol in front of him, I'm sure he's not going to turn that down. No way. You know what I mean? I mean, I saw Bivol over here when he fought Craig Richards, and I know what people like Shane and Ash are going to say, yeah, but this and that. But at the end of the day, man, he did not look good, did he? He did not. And he didn't look that good last week. I know people are saying, oh, he won easy, but he didn't show me anything to... But put it this way. If you're a top ranking light heavyweight and you saw that fight last week, are you going to watch that and think, oh, no, I don't want to go nowhere near him. He's way too good or he's way too dangerous. None of them are going to say that.
Do you want me to be honest? Yeah, like I was watching the fight last weekend because there was a lot of fights on. And with the Bivol fight, I switched it over at round 10 because I knew exactly how it was going to end. I just thought, right, Hank Lundy and Robbie Davis Jr. fighting now. Let me check that fight out. And then I just thought, you know what, I'll switch my attention because I just knew the pattern of the fight was set from early. There was just nothing in there. I knew there was going to be no stoppage. Like Bivol was just going to earn his way a shutout win. And that's what happened.
And of course, he's got into that mode now, isn't it? Often with fighters, you will see that happen to them.
Yeah.
They've got into that sort of pattern now that's what they do. And they've become used to doing it. So I don't expect anything different from him from here on in. And then probably what will happen is one day he's going to get matched with somebody who's half decent, not even that good, and he's going to get beaten, and then he'll just disappear. Because I'll tell you what now, once he's lost that title, no promoter's going to want to book him. That's for sure.
Let's get on to Conor Benn against Chris Algieri, man.
Yeah, let's talk about some fighters that raise the pulse a little bit, shall we? You know what I mean? Talking about Joseph Parker and bloody Dimitri Bivol, guys that send you to sleep. Let's talk about a young, exciting prospect that's got everyone talking.
Yeah, let's talk about it, man. Conor Benn in action last weekend against Chris Algieri, knocking him out. What was it, in the 4th round, I believe it was? Beautiful 1-2. Had Chris Algieri out pretty much on the floor. Conor Benn's most impressive performance so far for me. He was brilliant. Like, great head movement, showed great technique, looking better, improving as a fighter. He was cutting off the ring better. Before this fight, his dad, Nigel Benn, said that Conor Benn was the best he'd ever seen him in training. And it showed in the ring, because that's the best performance I've seen from him. I did say that I wasn't expecting much from Chris Algieri. I wasn't buying into the matchroom hype that Algieri was this dangerous opponent that he might 50-50. I knew that wasn't the case. But Conor Benn, as Shane says here, looked very good. And I don't want to see him in against Adrian Broner. But Conor Benn looked very good to me. What did disappoint me after was just the whole, I get it, and I'm sure you'll account for it as well, was first of all Tony Bellew with what he was saying about Conor Benn, and also just the fact that this AB thing is being pushed to the extreme, like fighting someone that's not good, it hasn't got very good mental health right now, fighting somebody that's been inactive over the last few years. If you're this good, if you're saying you're this good, you'll fight anyone, you'll do this, you'll do that, and then you call out AB, I'm not convinced. Over to you, Laurie.
Yeah, I understand your frustration with that side of it. I mean, I said on this show many months ago, actually, I think it was after he starched, I forget who he was, the guy that he did a similar number to.
Samuel Vargas.
Yeah. And I was saying then, but like you said, man, Adrian Broner now is just another guy. What, payday? You know what I mean? He's another one who falls into that category. Yeah. Listen, man, Conor Benn would absolutely eviscerate Adrian Broner. He would. It would be horrible to watch, especially if you're a Broner fan, because it was just an older guy who's having some tough times, both, you know what I mean, inside the ring and outside the ring, who's not looked good for a couple of years in the ring now. When was the last time Adrian Broner even looked good in a fight? You really have to scratch your head, don't it? Because even when he fought Ashley Theophane, he did not look good in that fight. That fight was competitive up to for about 6-7 rounds or whatever. So listen, you're fighting a guy, if he was to fight him, that's just got the name. He's just a sitting duck waiting to be starched. Broner does have a good chin, I'll give him that.
Never been stopped before. Do you think it'd be that easy?
I think it'll be one of them, man, where if the corner man's got any compassion about him, or the referee or whatever, it's not great, that ref, you know what I mean? But anyone else, that fight is just a young man just beating up on an old, washed up shot fighter. So it wouldn't be nice for me to see that, man. That's how big of a gap they are at this stage of their career. It would be an absolute beatdown. Even if he didn't get knocked out, he would just get thrashed. But you can understand why Conor Benn's calling him out, innit? It's easy work. It's a big name. If they brought him over here, Adrian Broner has got the kind of personality that would sell the fight. He'd be trash talking all the way to the ring. And then he'd go in there and he'd get laid out.
Won't throw any punches.
Bro, you can see why Conor Benn wants that fight.
I can see why he wants
Conor Benn fight Avanesian. But I don't think they too want that fight, do they?
I can see why Conor Benn wants it. I get it. But like Harvey says here, and I have to emphasize the last sentence, great performance, highlight reel KO, topped it off perfectly. Calm down with this Porter talk. Calm down in general. Like, the hype around here, like what Shane's saying, what did Bellew say? After the fight, Tony Bellew was literally, I was messaging you, Laurie. I was telling you how, well, you were kind of doing it as well, but I think you were just trolling me.
No, I was trying, but you seem genuinely upset with Tony Bellew. And I know that you like Bellew. So
I like Bellew a lot. I like Bellew a lot. I was tweeting. I was just like, what is Bellew doing, man? Like, just not even talking about Jerome Ennis or anyone else. He basically said, Shane, that Errol Spence and Crawford are the only two guys at welterweight that could beat Conor Benn. And then Andy Lee had to school him and literally let him know that what about Jerome Ennis? What about Virgil Ortiz? And then he quickly had to backtrack and be like, oh, I forgot about them.
Well, no. What was funny was he never said, I forgot. He tried to style it out by saying, oh, don't even talk to him about those things. Trying to make out like... I thought that was funny.
I shouldn't have got rattled. Like, well, I was rattled, man. Yeah. I was rattled because we do it all the time with the UK fighters. We do it a lot.
No, but you know what? It's not just UK fighters, man. I know we're going to talk about this later, but you see what you said there about Conor Benn, which I do get it. I was a little bit... Some of the stuff that was going on was a bit cringy. But then equally, almost as bad, and I'll be interested to hear what some of your contributors and people watching the show, some of the stuff that was being said after Loma fought Commey, I thought that was equally as bad. I was like, bro, come on, man. I was going on Twitter, and man saying, this guy Loma is the greatest to have ever done it. I'm like, what? What, because he beat Richard Commey? He wasn't that impressive against Commey. Yes, he did. I don't know what it is it people getting transfixed with the juggling before the fights and watching him train and the step arounds? If you actually look at the fight, I know we're going to talk about it later, he was getting hit by Commey. His face at the end of the fight was banged up. You didn't get Commey out of there. You're trying to be mischievous and getting the referee in the corner to stop the fight playing to the gallery. But in terms of the actual performance, it was a good performance, not great. And then after, oh, he's the number one, he's shown there. I'm like, what? All of those guys at lightweight would have beaten Richard Commey. So come on now. But anyway, to go back to Benn, it was a fantastic performance. I have to say that. It was punch perfect, and the head movement especially impressed me, because I'm going to be honest and say, right, and I don't want this to sound a certain way. No, but you don't see British fighters with head movement like that normally, do you? Name me one. If that was the head movement that he was doing in that fight, if that was Canelo that was doing that, people would be clipping that and putting it around on Twitter and saying, look at this.
Yeah, but Chris Algieri.
I know, but I'm just saying though, that the level of skill that he showed in it wasn't just the finish. You see, this is what I'm saying. Yeah. It wasn't just the finish, it was the level of skills he showed on the night. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Were top rate, you know what I mean? And another couple of wins will get him into that world-class operator kind of level, you know what I mean? Where he can start calling out the world champions. He's not there yet. Somebody just put in your comments there about Michael McKinson. That would be a great fight.
McKinson tweeted yesterday saying he was he's the boogeyman at 147. Maybe talking about domestically, but he's got a point.
He has got a point, man. I mean, I was very impressed with his win over Chris Congo. And he looked good.
Benn,
he looked awkward, man. You know what I mean? He looks like... But one thing I would say about Conor Benn, right? And I'm going to say this now. I've said it before, but I'm going to reiterate it.
Yep.
I would say, unless somebody can tell me different, that he's the most improved fighter in this country over the last couple of years. And the reason why I say that is that I can remember Conor Benn going life and death with a French guy, where a lot of people said he was quite fortunate to get a draw. Remember that?
Yeah.
Even before that, I can remember some of his early fights when he was just going in the ring and windmilling, trying to be like his dad, and he just didn't look that good. And I was thinking to myself, a bit like with Campbell Hatton, people were looking at him thinking, nah, you're not as good as your dad, mate. The first time you fight somebody half decent, you're going to lose. So to see where he is now, that he's calling out the likes of Broner and people are mentioning his name with the top guys, you have to say that his rate of progression has been excellent. And I can't think of any British fighter that has started at that level. I'm not saying he's the best fighter in Britain. I'm saying, to me anyway, he looks the most improved when you consider that he had a very scant amateur experience. And no disrespect, he had his amateur experience was when he was living out in Australia. And he said himself it was very minimal. So for him to be where he is now, you have to credit him, man. The work he's put in his attitude to the game. I'm super impressed with him, man.
Listen,
and I think if they continue to match him right, and let's face it, he wouldn't have been the first person in the world to have been managed strategically. He can go a long way.
I've got no argument with that, no argument whatsoever. And what Shane's saying here, he's spot on. Do you know what I mean? Benn, he's not at the level of those guys yet, but there's no disgrace in that. What I'm saying is, it's like when you've got people like Bellew saying, "Oh, I think only the top two guys would beat him," and then you're saying, "Oh, who should he fight next?" Then, "Oh, Adrian Broner." if you believe in Conor like that, then you're not going to say, oh, I want Broner next. Do you see Boots? Do you see Ortiz calling out Broner next? So just some perspective, man. Just calm down. Do you know what I mean? Conor Ben, sure, fight Adrian Broner. But in the same breath, don't say, oh, I'll fight anyone. I really feel like I'm this guy. Like, don't say that either. Yeah. Because really, you can say all that, and then you're just going to go off and fight Broner. So,
and the problem that Conor Ben has as well is that far from talking about going in the ring with Terence Crawford and Errol Spence and people like that, he's not even proved himself to be the best welterweight in Britain. There's legitimate arguments out there to say that he's not. Like I said, Michael McKinson could very easily say, listen, man, I think I'm better than Conor Ben.
Yeah.
You look at my resume, it's as good or if not better than his. I want that fight. And that's the one thing that's slightly disappointing about Conor Ben is that they know that they've got a star on their hands, haven't they? And they're trying to manage him accordingly. And we've seen what happens in boxing, and it happens all the time, not just in this country, but abroad as well, where, you know what I mean, the promoters have got hold of a guy, you know what I mean, he's box office, so to speak. He's, you know, putting in high real performances. But at the same time, they know he's probably not as good as what they're saying. So they're trying to maneuver him and strategically match him against guys, you know what I mean, that fit that prototype. Older guys with a name that once were good, you know, the likes of Algieri, the likes of Granadas, the likes of Sammy Vargas, people like that. Get them over here. They're at the tail end of their careers. Probably not that much ambition anymore. Definitely faded in terms of their athleticism and skill and punch resistance. Bring them over, hype up the show. Conor Ben goes in there, does a number, and then you know what Conor's like, man. He's not slow in coming forward with his mouth. You know what I mean? Oh, what him? I'll have it with anyone. Well, if you'll have it with anyone, there's a guy called Avenese in here, man, and he fights out of this country, and he's been calling you out.
That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. I've got no issue with your career progression. I've got no issue with the way how you've been developing. It's been great. Is in terms of promoting and pushing a fighter, it couldn't be any better. He's one of the biggest stars in Britain. Outside of the heavyweights, is there a bigger name than Conor Ben right now? Outside of the heavyweights? I mean, Josh Taylor is obviously a better fighter, and he's with what he's achieved, he should be up there, but he's not in terms of marketability wise. In terms of like a sale, other than Khan and Brooks, so they're not really active like that. But who is more of a star than Conor Ben right now, outside of the heavyweights? Pretty hard to say, isn't it?
Well, Sonny Edwards thinks he's a star.
Not quite like that.
It's a good question, man. I don't know, man. Like, there are some very good fighters in this country, but Conor Ben, listen, he has the name. You know what I mean? He's got that from his dad. But the kid can fight, man. And like I said, he's improved significantly.
Yeah.
And he's putting in performances, man, that are getting people off the edge of their seats. And that's professional boxing is like that, isn't it? If you can put in those highlight reel knockouts, man, people's ears prick up and then they start talking about you like that. So he's done nothing wrong so far. But like I said, like you've said, they do need to slow their roll a little bit, man, with some of the stuff going on, because that's when things might go wrong when they start talking like that. And you know what I mean? He's not going to fight Crawford or Spence. That's just hype. He's not ready for those guys yet. Nowhere near. Like I said, how about a domestic fight?
Well, here's a question. Here's a question here. What are you? And it's kind of what I highlighted earlier. What are you basing Broner against? He's never been stopped before. He's got a good chin. He's got good survival skills. Yeah, Are you just looking at it more in terms of? Well, I'll let you answer it. Actually, like, what are you basing that on?
I'm basing it on the stage he is in his career, and anyone who sort of knows that Broner has had a lot of problems recently, both financially. He's had mental health issues. He's put on weight. He wasn't a physically large welterweight to begin with as well. He's done his best work down at the lower weights. He's typically one of those guys, man, that's coming to the end of his career and he's only hanging around really for money. Everybody knows that Broner is not going to win world titles at this stage in his career. That's long gone. Long gone. You know what I mean? Everybody knows that. He's basically hanging around trying to use his name to make some money. He's got financial problems. He needs to fight. Adrian Broner is not going to pack up boxing and walk into a 9-to-5 or anything like that. He needs to fight. And so because of that dynamic, he's just chicken fodder for someone like, let's be honest, man, that's how brutal boxing can be.
So do you think
He's
it'd be
just there
more?
waiting to get picked off by a young gun.
Do you think it'd be more the referee stepping in and stopping it rather than Broner getting knocked out cold?
Yeah, I mean, I could see him getting knocked out, because
But
if
based
Conor
on
hits
what? He's
him
got
with,
a good chin. Been in with
he's
some
got a good
tough
chin, man, but
punches, man.
he's also had a lot of fights, and that chin will only take you around the world so many times. But what I do see happening, man, is him just getting beaten up to the point where the referee or the corner will just stop it because he will just take a shellacking. You look at Conor Benn, he's 25. He's approaching, he's not even there yet, actually. But the kid works so hard that he's improving all the time. So it it would be a car crash for Broner fans, man. They'd be
Yeah.
crying. Seriously.
I
He
wouldn't
would
like
get
to see. I wouldn't like. I'll be
beaten to a
honest, man.
pulp.
I wouldn't like to see him get
Yeah, he
beaten
would
up
get.
like
If you're a Broner fan, you don't really want that fight, man, because he's just gonna. And plus, that fight would take place over here, so they'd entice him, no doubt, with a lot of money. And he's in that trap, isn't he, where he needs the money.
Yeah.
I mean, you've only got to go to his Instagram and Twitter page to see he's begging Al Heyman for a fight. I need to fight. I need to fight. When he's saying I need to fight, he's not saying that because he wants to win another world title. He's saying that because he's broke. He was in court in America last year saying he's only got, was it $13 to his name?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When a fighter is in that kind of situation, that's very dangerous for a fighter. Because what tends to happen is, man, they fight on way past their best and they end up getting hurt. There's so many stories of this happening down the years. So, yeah, man, I don't see good things ahead for Adrian Broner, unfortunately.
Yeah. So says here, Stefan says here, Sonny Edwards has good head movement and defense. Yeah, he's another
He
British
does,
fighter
he
that has
does. Yeah,
very
very,
good head
very
movement and
talented.
defense.
Very
Yeah.
talented. Yeah.
Nathan says here, did you enjoy Jared Anderson's pimp entrance?
It's a bit corny, man. I must say, a bit corny, but I kind of understand why he's doing it. He's trying to, attract attention, but I'm not sure about that, to be honest. But I was impressed with his performance.
Yeah,
He looked very good. I think he's another one of those young guys that's around at the moment. Him, Philip Ergovich, Tony Yoka, people like that. George Fox.
you stop, man. Harvey says here, AB does nothing for his development, in my opinion. Daryl, I think you said something similar in your video. Yeah, I did. I just said that.
Yeah, but what Harvey, I understand what you're saying, but you've got to look at it from aesthetics. It's a name on his record. He'll be able to say, I was the first man to stop Adrian Broner, something that you can just see it now, can't you? Conor in the ring, no one done that to him. No one, he fought Manny Pacquiao, he fought all of them. No. You know the story, man. I don't need to tell you, man. You know what I mean? That's why they're calling him out as well, because they know at that weight as well that Broner can't hit.
Yeah.
He's not a puncher at welter. Yes, he did knock down Sean Porter. That was many years ago. B, that was a flash knockdown. And C, if I remember rightly, the conditions for that fight is that they absolutely trimmed down. I think Porter had to come into that fight at 142, or it was a catchweight fight.
It was a catchweight, yeah.
Yeah. And you could see that Sean Porter was drained to the bone when he fought him, man. And he still beat him easy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
a lot of comments here with regards to Conor. Ben DS has said here, big up WM in the chat as well. But DS has said here, Ben versus the winner of Khan and Brook.
You know what? If either one of those guys was to win and win well, there might be an argument. Because you imagine if, say, Khan wins that fight really well. He looks like approaching what he was. And then he starts talking that smack, the way Amir Khan likes to do it as well. And then the person on the microphone says, yeah, what about Conor Benn? Do you really think that Amir Khan's going to say, nah? He'd probably say, yeah, let's do it. I know Kel would. If Kel won, or if Kel wins, I could see him calling, because that's the kind of guy that Kell Brook is. He'll fight anyone, as we saw when he fought Golovkin, and we all saw how that turned out. But if Kell wins, I'm sure he would pursue that fight.
Yeah.
Because I think Kell does know that in terms of he's been to the top level, he's not going to win a world title, is he? But he's probably looking at it and saying that's a massive domestic fight. And if he's coming off the back of a win against Khan, especially if he looks good, he's going to say, yeah. Because he's going to know that he's in that market now. He's not in the market for world titles anymore. But he'll probably think, yeah, man, I know enough to school Conor Benn.
let's move on here, man, because we still have quite a bit to talk about. We're nearly hitting an hour, so I want to get big up. We've got loads of comments here in the chat. We've got quite a lot of people online as well compared to normal. So big up to everybody, man. As Shane has been saying, smash that like button, share the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Let's talk about Loma. I mean, we spoke a little bit about Loma, didn't we? But Inoue fought this week as well on a Tuesday. Do you know what I mean? Was you aware of that? Did you even know that he fought?
I only knew about that fight afterwards.
Where do you have Inoue
heard
on
about
your
the fight? But I thought it was this weekend. I knew it was coming up, and then when they said, "Oh, he won" and stuff like that, I was like, "What?" Again, I didn't catch the whole fight, but we know what Inoue does, man.
Where do you have him on your pound for pound list right now? Do you have him in your top 5?
No, he's not.
He's in most people's top 5, I believe.
Yeah, the only thing is I have trouble with a lot of these guys measuring how good they are. You know what I mean? That's the thing.
Yeah.
I may be being a little bit facetious there because maybe I need to take more attention. I think that's what it is because those weights, you tend not to take them too seriously. I know that's pretty shameful of me to say that, but that is in reality how it goes. So I don't know, man.
Coming from you, that's a scholar of this. Of boxing.
Yeah, no, but
that's pretty surprising for you to say.
At least I'm admitting. Listen, he fights in Japan most of the time against guys that you've never heard of. It's not easy to make that quantum leap to say he's definitely in the pound for pound list, but I wouldn't say he's in the top 5.
He's in many people's top 5. He's in Harvey's top 5. He's in Stefan's top 5. He said, "Don't know way are there." I have to agree. I think he is in the top 5 for me. He's exciting to watch. So what is it? Is it Top Rank doing a horrible job?
It's the level of competition, though, isn't it? I mean, he had that one step-up fight.
He won the World Boxing Super Series. He won the World Boxing Super Series. Do you know what I mean? Won that, moved up the weights, won world titles.
Yeah, so's Usyk.
Yeah, but he's in the top 5. But I mean, there's no dispute with him being in the top 5 pound for pound.
But I would say that Usyk's credentials are a bit more impressive to me.
Stefan says here, no UK or US coverage for one of the best in the sport is a joke. I think Top Rank doing a horrible job. Do you know what I mean? If I'm being honest, but they for me, they do a horrible job with a lot of fighters, man. They do. They're not the same as they used to be.
They even do a horrible job with Lomachenko when you think about it, because he doesn't sell out arenas, contrary to what a lot of people think.
And the thing is like
how good he is. When you consider how good he is, he's not the star that many people think that he is. He should be bigger, really, shouldn't he? Let's be honest, he should be bigger.
I don't think Top Rank doing a very good job with a lot of fighters.
They didn't do a good job with Crawford, you know what I mean? So yeah,
doing a good job with Fury, I guess, but we knew Fury already.
No, but Fury does that. Fury's a self-promoter. He does that himself, man.
Yeah.
As you saw last week. He's serenading Bob Arum.
Top Rank are promoting the show this weekend. That is Beterbiev and Brown. That will be on the UK coverage. That will be shown on Sky Sports. I'm looking forward to it. I mean, Beterbiev, we spoke about Bivol. Beterbiev, for me, is the number 1 light heavyweight in the world. No doubt about it. With like, do you know what I mean? After beating Vostik, unifying the division, he is the number 1 light heavyweight in the world. I do like watching him when he does fight. Marcus Brown is a character for me. He's somebody that, I like watching. He's got ability. He's a bit of a wild card in this one. I'm not saying that he's going to cause the upset, but he's got plenty of ability. But the problem with him is that he's just a bit inconsistent, as we've seen. Do you know what I mean? He's either going to get washed by Beterbiev at the weekend, or he's going to surprise a lot of people.
Well, I don't think he'll surprise me, because what I see happening in that fight is that early rounds, I think he will win some of them. He'll definitely be competitive. He might even hurt Beterbiev, because Brown can punch a bit. He's former Olympian. He's a good boxer. Quick, young. Although he's not that young anymore. He's 31 now.
Yeah.
And I could see him winning some rounds, but I think, like a lot of people are saying, man, it's only a matter of time before Beterbiev, who's a real monster, catches up with him. And then when he does, he will just put him away, I think. And that's you know what I mean?
Yeah. So, just laughing at Harvey's comment there. That's made me laugh about Nico Ali Walsh. Don't know if you watched him at the weekend. But yeah, carry on.
Yeah, he didn't look very good, to be honest with you, although he won. He's so hittable, that guy. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I'm going to need to see some papers, man, about your Ali. I don't know. I need to see some. You're
going there as well. There's a lot of people suggesting that.
WM said here, Loma
Listen,
has
man, we
no.
live in a fluid world. People are mixing, and you know, what I mean, different cultures, different races.
Hey, yeah, no,
It
just say,
happens,
yeah.
man. It happens. But I have been entertained on the internet. A lot of people saying there's no way he's Ali's grandson. Look at him, he's white and all that. It's been quite funny. But listen, man, you know the world we live in. Very cosmopolitan. You know what I mean? Like I said, different mixtures of races and cultures and so forth. I've got no reason to disbelieve him when he says he's Muhammad Ali's grandson.
I don't know about what Muhammad. I don't know if Inouye's fight wasn't promoted, but I thought it should be because he is part of Top Rank. Big Lou has said here, don't sleep on Marcus Brown. This is what I'm saying. Oh, what's your? I mean, how do you see that fight going, man? Do you have Beterbiev defeating Brown? I'm sure you do,
I
but
think, to answer Big Lou, that Brown will be the one sleeping on Saturday.
but Beterbiev ain't looked that good recently, man.
Yeah, but Marcus Brown, man, a couple of fights ago, he lost to John Pascal. Now, I know John Pascal was roided up to the eyeballs. But even so, man, John Pascal, if you couldn't beat him, really? Come on, man. Listen, I know he's gone to Texas. He's now being trained by Derek James. I don't know if you know that.
Marcus Brown.
Yeah, he's hooked up with Derek James and they're talking positively. And listen,
He's got ability.
I'd like him to do well. I really would. But I can only go on what I've seen. And from what I've seen, he's done nothing to suggest to me that he's going to beat Arthur Beterbiev, even though Beterbiev is into his late 30s and doesn't fight much. But I do agree, man. At the moment, to me, he's head and shoulders number one in the light heavyweight division. Why do you think people don't want to fight him? People want somebody else to knock him off. You know what I mean? That's what it is with Bivol. He's hiding in plain sight.
WM has said here, Canelo will beat all of the current light heavyweights. What do you think?
Well, if it goes to points, he's going to beat all of them because no one's going to vote against him. You know how it goes in boxing, man.
What about Beterbiev? Does Beterbiev have a chance to stop?
Sharpen love. You know what I mean?
Who gives him his toughest fight at 175? Canelo? Beterbiev?
Well, it would be Beterbiev, but I don't think Canelo would fight Beterbiev. I really don't.
Okay.
But I think Canelo does have a... Listen, man, Canelo's a great fighter. So that we say about him on this show, or me anyway. I've never once said that he's not a great fighter. And he does have one of the best chins in boxing. And you have to look at it like this. Whenever it goes to the scorecards, I keep saying it and people keep, but it's true.
Yeah.
You're not going to beat that guy on the scorecards right now. It's just the way the cards are stacked.
Yeah, so what WM is saying here then is that you're going to have to knock him out to win. So you think
Beterbiev might be the one to do that. You know what I mean? Yeah. Beterbiev might be the only one that can do that at light heavyweight.
Yeah. Remains to be seen. We know what what Canelo's looking to do next. It hasn't really come into fruition yet.
He will do. He will do, man. He will do. I mean, there's no way Makabu is going to beat Canelo. That's going to be an easy fight for Canelo. I said it here first. Easy fight.
I'm not going to say your name here, but I'm just going to say BP. He's put here, Khan is training with Crawford. Brooks in big trouble. His metal face is going to be jabbed all night. That fight there, the tickets went on sale for that fight this week, Khan and Brook. I had some friends that were thinking about going. Them tickets went in like 15 minutes or so, apparently.
Yeah,
I'm a bit skeptical about that, I have to be honest. Because I saw the tickets then go on a resale site for ridiculous money.
Listen, what tends to happen with a lot of these fights, you know already, Darrell, when they go on sale, the tickets just get snapped up by all these ticket agencies and stuff like that. And then they sell them third party. So, listen, I'm sure there's a demand for the fight because I said to you a couple of weeks ago that I'm quite looking forward to it. You know what I mean? I'm quite looking forward to this fight, man. It's going to be very entertaining. The build-up's going to be very entertaining. And I think it's going to be a good fight as well. I think the fight will live up to the billing. Because Kel's going to bring it, isn't he? Kel's going to bring it. And Amir Khan, we know how he fights. Amir Khan's not a runner. He's a boxer, but he's quite an aggressive box fighter, Amir Khan is. So they've both got heart. They've both got skills. Yes, they're not anywhere near their primes. But they do have enough, I think, both of them, to put on a good fight. So
Not for that price. That's all I'm saying, man. Not for that price, what they're charging. But yeah, I'll just stay home and watch it on TV. I will watch that.
Well, we'll
Norwich,
probably be in lockdown at that time, so you probably have no choice but to watch it.
good point. Good point. WM has said Canelo will beat Makabu and then he'll call out Bellew. So he's kind of on your page there.
Listen, let Tony Bellew get home to his wife and kids. That's all he wants to do.
What's your thoughts, Laurie, on the other two fights?
He just wants to get home safe to his wife and kids, mate.
What's your thoughts on the other two fights this weekend, man? We've got Zerdo fighting. We've got Madrimov fighting against Soro. Zerdo, he's fighting Gonzalez, I believe. Your thoughts on those two fights? I mean, are you a fan of Madrimov? Do you think that he could be a potential? I mean, he's been given a big build-up, hasn't he? He hasn't looked that impressive recently, but he's being lined up to fight Jermell Charlo if he wins this. So, I mean, do you think he's ready if he does win it?
Yeah, I think he was. But will Charlo fight him? He's another one, Charlo. They just want to fight guys that they know they can beat. Charlo's really disappointing me recently, man. You know what I mean?
Jermell, you're talking about?
Yeah, well, both of them. You know what I mean? They're getting in more fights outside the ring than they do inside. I want to see Jermell Charlo rematch Castano, man. That's what I want to see. I mean, because a lot of people say that he lost that fight.
Well, it's looking like that rematch will happen, though. I think apparently they are looking to make that happen.
I'm not excited about Madrimov because I want to see. I don't know if he's the best in that division. A lot of people will say that Castano's the best in that division.
This is a good fight right here. Madrimov against Tim Tszyu. Madrimov's got to win Saturday first.
Yeah, yes, yeah.
He's been given a big build-up, isn't he? So, I mean, it remains to be seen. I mean, how far do you think he can go? He can go all the way?
Well, I want to see a bit more from him against the better guys before I start bigging him up and saying, yeah, he's the next coming. You know what I mean? Like you said, he's being talked up, which is good. We always want to see good fighters. You know what I mean? The more good fighters out there, the better, because the more appealable fights. But I need to see, I'm going to watch him closely over this weekend. Yeah. And of course, I'm looking forward to seeing Zerdo because I want to see the boogeyman in action, man. You know what I mean?
Like I said, if Zerdo wins, then, you know what I mean, it puts him in the prime position to fight Dimitri Bivol. I think it pushes him up the WBA rankings. I want to see it, man. Just get him and Bivol in the ring, or get Bivol in the ring with Beterbiev, one of them. I want to see that, man.
Bivol is not going to fight Beterbiev. We know that by now. He's not. Like I said, his strategy is to wait till somebody else beats Beterbiev and just navigate his way around the division, fighting guys that are not very good. He wants to hold on to the title forever. Then he can retire and say, yeah, I held the championship for X amount of years and I'm a great fighter. I want to go in the Hall of Fame. You know, all that type of stuff, man. He's not. Let's talk about Lowdown. Do you know what he reminds me of a little bit? This is for the older viewers here. Sven Otka. Yeah, that's what I said earlier. It's out of that Sven Otka, Henry Masker. Those East German fighters from back in the day. They'd win a title, an IBF or WBO. And then they would just, you know what I mean, take sanctuary in their own countries, fighting obscure opponents. And then before long, these guys have held the title for like 6, 7, 8, 9 years. You think, yeah, but who's he for?
Is it Bivol's fault? Do you blame him, or do you think the promoter should be doing a better job?
Been around long enough now. Been around long enough now. He works with Eddie Hearn and people like that. He should be demanding a better fights.
Should they be doing a better job? Is it the promoters, you think, or is it more him?
You can't make someone fight who don't want to fight.
So do you really think he just don't want to fight these guys, or?
Yes, I do. I think he's been around long enough that if you wanted to fight people, you would have fought them by now.
All right, interesting. We'll close this off with we'll talk about Loma against Comey and just final thoughts on Parker-Chisora. But Loma and Comey, for me, just to round it off quickly. I think it was vintage Loma. I don't think it was as great as. Yeah, let me get into it. I think it was vintage Loma in terms of how he fights. When you looked at the punch stats afterwards, I think that the punch stats were Loma landed 44% of his punches. Comey landed 11%. The average at lightweight is 29%. So when I say vintage Loma, that's what I mean. I wasn't as like in awe as I was with the Nakatani fight. I did see a bit of holes there, but not many. I thought that Loma did dominate Comey and win that. I thought he could have stopped him, but he showed a bit too much sympathy for him at times. Didn't put his foot on the gas like W.
I don't think it was sympathy. I think he couldn't do it.
I think that he did reach out to the corner and say to them, stop
but
the
that's
fight.
not his job. That's not his job, though. I thought, I mean, I don't know what you thought. I thought that was quite corny of Lomachenko to do that, because he was, what I mean, agitating and gesticulating. Get on with your job, man. You know what I mean? It's not your job to do that. You weren't putting that bad a beating on him. You dropped him and you had him hurt. Wow, that happens in fights all the time.
What did you make of Loma at the end of the, what was it, second or third round, where he wobbled Comey, and then literally there was like 5 seconds left to go in the round, and he was just like, "No, go back to your corner, man."
Yeah, he does that. That's quite funny. That is quite funny, I must admit.
I mean, didn't Comey feel a bit like, do you know what I mean? Imagine that you're boxing someone and he just said, nah, just go back to your corner, man. Like, go back, it's fine. Recover,
yeah,
go back.
Loma is quite arrogant in that way. You know what I mean?
Very good as well, man.
That's the kind of thing that gets, a very good fighter.
But that's what gets people purring. That's what gets the people doing them wild tweets.
See, that is not. Why didn't he do that against Tio then? Where was all that? Get back to your corner against Tio. This is what I'm saying about, if you've got the right opponent in front of you, Daryl, even me and you, we could pick guys, put them in the ring, and we look like $1 million because of the style. It doesn't mean to say that because he did that to Comey, he's going to win that world title again. Because I'll tell you what, from what I saw of him that night, man, I would fancy Devin Haney over him.
Really?
I really would.
You'd think Devin, WM agrees here. He's literally said it at the same time as you did.
I think Devin Haney would beat him. I think Cambosa's got an excellent chance against that. His energy and his style.
I don't know.
I'm telling you, he wouldn't knock. Would
you have said that after the Nakatani fight? Would you have said Cambosa's beats him like that? If he fought Nakatani last weekend like that, would you have said that?
No, but I was impressed with the Nakatani performance because he was coming off the back of a loss and he did beat Nakatani up and looked very good. But again, Nakatani is not a skillful boxer. Devin Haney is. Devin Haney is also very young, very quick, very ambitious. You know what I mean?
He's also someone you can get at. He's also someone that you can get at.
But do you think Loma punches hard enough to knock him out?
Yeah.
Nah, he does. Loma does not hit harder than Linares.
It's his accuracy. That's what got Comey on the ground last weekend. It's just the accuracy and
Theo knocked out Comey in 2 rounds.
Shane said here.
So, I didn't think Comey was that good. Listen, Comey, fair play to him, man. He's a tough guy. He came to fight. He showed a lot of heart because when he got knocked down like that and he got buzzed a few other times, a lot of guys, man, would have just went missing or they would have just took the easy way out, stayed down. I give Comey a lot of credit for that because let's face it, he was clearly outclassed in that fight. But let's be honest, Darryl, we all knew this going in. We all predicted Loma would stop him. He didn't stop him, did he? He came close in the 7th. He did not stop him. And I just saw things there, man, that I thought, you're not the Loma of a few years ago. And then afterwards...
Yeah, but he is 34, isn't he?
Yeah, well, it is what it is. And then afterwards, some of the stuff that was being said, I was like, this guy's the greatest fighter ever. That performance he put on there was better than... It was not a better performance than Devin Haney's. It was not a better performance than George Cambosa's. I wouldn't even say it was a better performance than Tank because Tank fought that guy with one hand, a young, hungry knockout artist. And Tank won the fight with one hand.
We'll get Tank to fight him then.
Well, yeah, this is it. And then there's a lot of nonsense coming out after the fight. People say, none of them guys want to fight Loma. Listen, Haney spent about a year calling out Loma. Why do you think Loma requested that franchise belt? Which is why this whole lightweight division thing is up in the air. Because he refused to fight Devin Haney. He didn't want that fight. He clearly didn't want that fight. He looked at the style, long, skillful, young, you know what I mean? And he thought to himself, I want to go down a different route. He took Tio because he thought Tio would be an easier
Tio's also young. He's also strong.
Yeah,
he's
but it's a different style. It's a different style. And then Tio surprised him. Tio surprised all of us actually with that in that fight. And then Loma pulled the shoulder injury business. I don't know, man. Listen, man, Loma's a fantastic talent. He's still a very, very good fighter. But honestly, I could see those guys giving him trouble. and beating him.
Who's those guys?
Haney, Tank, Kambosos.
Okay.
I think all three of those guys have got a good chance against him, put it that way.
WM says here Haney would beat him convincingly. BP has said here Roy Jones was arrogant. Tarver was taking none of that from Roy. Tarver was so underrated. Yeah, I agree. WM has said here Kambosos beats Loma as well.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are still underestimating Kambosos, man. I mean, he's fast twitch fibers. I'm telling you, bro. And he's got a good chin. You know what I mean? He would give Loma a lot of problems. Trust me.
Francisco says here Kambosos is sounding like he's more interested in fighting Loma instead of Haney next year. I heard that, which would be a good match. But I think Haney is more deserving, and it would be for the real undisputed at 135.
See, what gets me right, Daryl, is this. You get guys like you saying, oh, he's vulnerable. But none of them want to fight him. Why do you think that is? They obviously see something in him, innit?
I said it last week.
Is, well, you know, none of those guys really want to fight. If they thought he was vulnerable, listen, if Kambosos bought into this vulnerable theory, he would have said, yeah, I want all the belts. I want to fight Haney in Australia. But if you notice, he's been a bit circumspect. Well, listen, you know, we look at that fight. And
he's weighing up his options, man. He's weighing. I mean, don't you deserve to?
He's got the missing piece. He's got the missing piece, man. And he wants to fight. He was calling you out. That's a great fight. Make that fight, man. Loma's not got a belt.
Let's see what happens, man. And listen, with Haney, with the vulnerable stuff, listen, he's not, I'm not saying that I just think that I've seen signs where if you put your foot on the gas, you may be able to get to him. No one's done it yet, preferably.
Yeah, but you may be able to get to any of those guys.
Listen, Linares wobbled in badly. I thought that Jojo Diaz did manage to cause him a bit of adversity in the fight, a little bit, not much. But from what I've seen, you can get to him. I'm not saying it's enough to beat him, but you do.
Yeah, well, let's see it then. Let's see one of those guys.
I'm saying I agree. And like I said last week, Haney, out of all of them, is my favorite lightweight due to the fact that he wants everyone.
Because we know Kambosos can hit the floor because he's hit the floor against Tio. We know Tio can hit the floor. He's been down a couple of times in his career. And Loma has been down a couple of times in his career. But yeah, I don't hear none of them, anyone saying that he's vulnerable. Devin Haney, as far as I'm aware, he's never been down. He got wobbled at one time against Linares. Linares put Loma down. You know what I mean? Linares is a very strong puncher at lightweight.
San says here that Loma beats Haney.
Haney and Loma fight. I'm betting on Haney all day long. He's all wrong for Loma. He's all wrong for him.
San says here Loma beats Haney. Haney doesn't have the same pop as Tio.
Doesn't have to. Doesn't have to. You don't have to knock somebody out to beat them, do you? You know what I mean?
Michael Maxwell says here Haney has too much speed. Tank has too much power for Loma, and Shakur would also be an issue. Well, get Tank in. Listen, I think that about Tank too, but listen, get him in the ring.
Yeah.
Get your boy Ellaby in there and tell him to get him in the ring with Loma. Loma's been chasing that fight for years.
Be careful how you're criticizing Leonard Ellaby, man. He'll probably call you out. What's he say to Eddie Hearn? It's on site.
Yeah, whatever, man.
Now we got promoters wanting to fight. Oh my gosh. What's happening in boxing, man?
BP has said here Loma is friends with Comey. He wasn't going to knock him out after the seventh.
Loma went for the knockout, man. Even in the 12th round, he was going for the knockout. Don't let all that stuff fool you. He was going for the knockout. He couldn't land a punch. And Comey is quite a tough guy. And Comey was motivated for going the distance. You could see that. You could see that after a while. It's almost like Comey sort of realized he's not going to have the skill to hang with Loma. So, but he was intent on going the distance. And he did that. And apart from that 7th round, he wasn't really that hurt, was he? Yes, his head went back in that classic Loma style. You know, the way he snaps it. It's very accurate puncher, as you said, Daryl, quite rightly. But he wasn't seriously hurt in that fight, man, apart from the 7th round. And then all this stuff with Loma, you know, advocating for the corner. And that's not your job, Brent. You know what I mean? I can understand that if you were beating him from pillar to post for about a minute straight, you'd thrown 35 unanswered punches and the guy, then fair enough. But you hit the guy with a good shot, he wobbled, and then you're going, And it's the way you're doing it, gesticulating, throwing your arms up in the air and making a big scene. I'm like, that's a bit corny, really.
But they were pleasant with each other before the fight. I mean, they were, you know what I mean, shaking hands, hugging each other before and all that, laughing together. So that's probably what BP's saying here when he says that they were friends and stuff like that. And maybe that might have...
but Loma was still trying to get him out of there, in my opinion. He just couldn't do it.
DS has said here, I'm not sure if Haney beats Loma, but it gives him the hardest fight in the division right now.
Well, that's fair enough. I wouldn't listen. I'm not mad at that, but I think that Haney beats him over 12 rounds. I think he outpoints Loma. He wins more rounds than Loma, man. It's as simple as that. 7-5, 8-4, call it how you want to call it. You might even get knocked down. Say he gets knocked down. He still wins the fight for me. I think boxing is all about timing. It's like a lot of sports. And I think Haney, at this stage in his career, with that youth, with those physical advantages he'd have over Lomachenko, I think he beats him.
Big up Born Again Biker in the chat here. He's put 955 subs. Wow. Laurie, you know where we're going here, man. 955, 45 away now. We're slowly, you see how slow it's going, but we're getting there. Do you know what I mean? 955 subs. Hit that like button, share the video, subscribe to the channel, guys.
It's a bit like boxing, man. It's the proper way to build a career, isn't it? You don't just go out in a rush and then, you know what I mean?
We're building it like Conor Benn over here.
Yeah, you're building it, man. You know what I mean?
We're building it like Conor Benn.
Crescendo.
For real.
You know what I mean?
We'll get there. Francisco says here, Tio beat Loma with his jab. Haney has a great jab, but Loma's movement could cause Haney problems. It would be a great skilled boxing match. It's a good fight, man.
I'd love to see that fight. I'd love to see that fight. That's a great fight.
And Haney did want it. Let's be real. Haney did call for it.
Listen, man, if people out there, right, go and do your research. If you don't know already, I'm sure a lot of people who watch this show regular, they do. One thing I've noticed about the people who come on this forum, they do know their boxing. Yeah,
they do.
They will tell you, Haney's been calling out Loma for the longest period. I mean, and that's why I got a little bit annoyed with Loma in interviews leading up to this fight. He was saying that none of those guys want to fight me. That is not true. You know what I mean? Because they were all calling you out, man. Haney was calling you out. Tio was calling you out. To me, what happened was he selected Tio because he thought Tio was a bit raw and that he could beat him. But I think he underestimated Tio, and look what happened. Just like Tio underestimated Cambosa. You saw what happened there. So,
yeah,
there you go, man.
Our brother Shane Willoughby here. He's put here, this live has been live, so he's enjoyed the show. Big up Shane every time, man. Go check him out, man, on Jeff TV show. Big up Jeff, man. Big up Shane. Big up BFV.
Big up Jeff, man. Big up
all of those guys, man, for real. BP says here, 45 to the golden 1,000. Shane has also said here, Laurie, you need to do more on the channel as well as at least come on 3 times a week. So, yeah, we need to get more content with Laurie on there. I'm sure people would agree.
Well, listen, man, I'd love to. I do have some work commitments. But in the new year, me and Daryl have got some things planned. I know I've said it before, but I am very busy now, even in these COVID times, up until the end of the year and early January. But in the new year, moving forward, yeah, man, we've got some things planned. So definitely.
Let's round off the show today by just we've given our final thoughts on Chisora Parker. I don't know if you got any last thoughts on that, but there's also another fight this weekend that we haven't spoken about, and that's your boy Jake Paul and Tyron Woodley too. So, just your thoughts on them two thoughts, and then we'll lock it off today.
I have no words. No, I mean, listen, man, I'm not interested in that, to be honest, man. I had a mild interest when it was Tommy Fury and Jake Paul, because I kind of thought I was looking forward to seeing that, because I really thought that, not that I wanted it to happen, because I don't really like any of them, really. But I did actually believe that Jake Paul was going to beat Tommy Fury. I did. I thought that he would win. And I'm still a little bit dubious as to the pulling out of this fight from Tommy Fury. He went from saying, I'd fight you with one leg, one arm. Remember? Talked all that smack. Yeah, and then you pull it out with a rib injury. Mm-hmm. And then you got some doctor to post some picture, and you're going online and talking about it for several minutes. Just the whole thing just made me highly suspicious of that pullout, to be honest. And Jake Paul's already come out and said that that fight's not going to be there for him anymore. And I think that's what Tommy Fury wanted, because Tommy Fury knows that if he lost that fight, he's got absolutely nowhere to go. Even his brother Tyson said it. Tyson Fury said, if you lose that fight, you got to change your name. You know what I mean? So talk about pressure. And I just don't think that Tommy Fury's that good.
Yeah.
I don't think Jake Paul's much good either, but I just think it's his promotion in America. And I could have just foreseen where Jake Paul would have run around the ring, thrown a few jabs, whatever, and he probably would have beaten him on points. But anyway, to this fight, listen, Tyron Woodley stepped in at the last minute, despite what he's telling people that he was training. What was he training for? I mean, I trained. You trained, Daryl. Doesn't mean to say that if we got called for a fight short notice that we're going to be ready to fight. So, same things happen. Yeah, exactly. Payday. You want payday?
Mm.
I mean, it's another one of them. I'm not really interested in that fight. We've seen it already, man. Tyron Woodley had that good moment where he landed that shot. And there was all this conjecture about, was the fight rigged and stuff like that. Who cares, really?
Yeah.
The fact is, he never got him out of there. He's not going to get him out of there this time. And I think Jake Paul's going to win quite easy.
Yeah.
Tyron Woodley's about, 41 years old now. He's not even a proper boxer. When you see him working out, he looks very stiff, doesn't he? He looks muscle-bound.
Mm.
I mean, you're not going to be able to just turn yourself into an accomplished fighter.
Yeah, but Jake Paul's not an accomplished fighter, really. They're not really, you know what I mean?
No, he's not. But at least he's young and he's been trained consistently now for the last 2 or 3 years in boxing. He's got all the physical advantages. He's about half a foot taller than Woodley. He's a natural light heavyweight, whereas Woodley looks like he's got a light middleweight frame at best, doesn't he? Looks like a welterweight. He's just swole, isn't it?
Yeah.
Looks like one of those guys down the gym, man, who hit the bag. You know, you've been in gyms and you've seen them, innit? They look all impressive, big, and then they hit the bag and they throw all the punches wrong, and then after 2 rounds they're gassed out and then they go on to something else. You know what I mean? So they look good, but they don't fight good. I think Woodley's like that.
Yeah.
He keeps saying, "Oh, I've got a new trainer. I'm doing sparring." Who is he sparring with? You know what I mean? Who is these guys that you're so-called knocking out in sparring? I don't believe any of it. I think Jake Paul's going to beat him convincingly this time.
Big up Harvey, man. He said he missed the Jake Paul presser for this live, so he tuned into this live instead of watching.
He's got his priorities right, man.
Harvey knows that he knows, man. Harvey knows.
That Jake Paul is just cap, innit? That last fight, it was a very boring fight as well. I watched some of that. There's very few highlights. It was just Jake Paul clumsily trying to keep Tyron Woodley on the end of a jab. It didn't really look that good, to be honest. It looked like 2 guys who didn't know what they were doing in it. But Jake Paul probably does have a little bit more skill at this point than Tyron Woodley does.
BP said
Tyron Woodley, was getting beaten up in MMA before he crossed over into boxing. Yeah. His contract got cancelled by what's your face?
Dana White.
That's why that move to boxing was almost forced. And he's now making more money in boxing than he was as an MMA fighter. So he's basically just brought his name into boxing. You can't box, man. You can't box.
BP saying here, what was the payday for Tommy? I'm not sure, to be honest, but it would have been his highest payday for sure. Probably the highest payday he would have ever made, because I can't see him going that far.
Yeah, a couple of million. I mean, Tyson Fury, I saw some interview where he was saying, "Oh, Tommy would have made millions, but he's going to make millions anyway." I was like, what? You must mean in Love Island, not in boxing. Because come on now, Tommy Fury is not going anywhere in boxing.
Not in that division as well.
Especially in that division. Do me a favor, man.
BP says here, KSI, Jake Paul, Logan Paul are all doing their thing. I respect it. Everybody says they won't watch it, but they'll end up watching it and enjoying it. So...
No, well, I don't think that's accurate, is it? I mean, like in this country, I know people that will, like myself, I will watch some of it, but I'm not going to pay for that. You know what I mean? No way. Are you going to pay for that, Daryl?
No.
I don't know anyone that's paying for that. They'll either stream it or they'll wait a few days after the fight and watch
yeah, but they would have. I reckon that fight with Jake Paul, Tommy Fury, I would have done some good numbers over here. I think.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, you're right about that. But this one at the weekend, man, I don't think anyone in England's interested in that fight.
Yeah.
You?
No, well, no, I'm not. No.
I'd rather watch Joseph Parker, and that's saying something.
Shayna said here, I have no... You said you'd rather watch Joseph Parker. Yeah, so would I.
Yeah.
Shayna said here, I have no reason to. On my life, I have never seen none of them fight. And Shane knows his stuff, people. You know what I mean? So
I've seen Tommy Fury fight a few times, man, and the opponents were poor, and technically he's a long way off it. So, I mean, listen, you do got to give him some respect that he's getting in the ring and trying to make a career. I mean, listen, man, I've boxed myself. To get in there is not easy.
yep.
Even as an amateur, man, it was one of the hardest things I did. I love the sport, but getting in there under the lights, fighting people is not an easy thing to do. So anyone who gets in the ring has my respect. I just want to say that from the outset. However, you know what I mean? We have to be real. You know what I mean? We have to keep things relevant, and everything is relative. I've seen Tommy Fury fight. To the way they're trying to hype him up, his dad and one or two other people saying he's going to be a next big star and all that. Nothing could be further from the truth. The fact is that if he fights anyone half decent, he's going to lose.
Yeah.
That's
big up my boy Marley Worth here in the chat. He's put here, I'd rather watch Warrington versus Kid Galahad again than tune into that. Shayna said here, my girl knows more about Tommy than me because she watched Love Island. So yeah, he's more of a Love Island. He's more of a reality TV star than a boxer. That's how I look at him as well.
Of course.
Do you know what I mean? That's how I look at it.
Listen, man, the kid looks good. He's a good-looking kid. He's got the body. He's got the shape for it. He speaks well as well. You know what I mean? But let's be honest, man. If you've seen him in a boxing ring, like I said, when you consider the weight division he's in as well, where there's some real killers out there, even in this country, man, there's some real talent in the light heavyweight. I could name off about half a dozen names, easy. Anthony Yards, you know what I mean? My boy Dan Aziz, you know what I mean? There's loads of guys, Craig Richards, Buatsi, Callum Johnson, you know what I mean? There's loads of guys there, man. Even someone like who my boy Dan's beat, like Ricky Summers, he would absolutely destroy Tommy Fury. You know what I mean? Yeah. There's guys in that division would decimate him. So come on now.
Harvey says he'd still rather watch that than watch Parker versus Farr. I think, you know what? I think he might have a point. I think he won there. You know what I mean?
Because that was a real low point in boxing, man.
Parker versus Farr, man. Your last thoughts on Parker-Chisora while we close it off? We did that, like I said, we did that with Galahad, and I know it was different scenario, but we did that before, and boy.
Yeah, listen, man, all jokes aside, I think it might be a better fight than the first one in terms of intrigue, because I thought Derek should have got the decision. I thought he got robbed, actually. I thought he won that fight clearly.
There's a crowd at this one as well. Would that help?
Yeah, there's a crowd at this one. There's a narrative going into it, innit? The fact that Derek was robbed kind of sets up the story for this one. And it's basically last chance for Joseph Parker. I would say it's last chance for Chisora because Derek said two things. He's not interested in fighting for titles. He fights for money, and he fights for money. So he's not that bothered about losing. Well, he's not saying he's not bothered about losing, but if him losing is not going to send him into retirement, even if he gets knocked out. So I think this fight is more important for Joseph Parker because if he is looking to resuscitate his career, then he not only has he got to win, he's got to kind of look good in doing it, innit? Now, whether he can do that remains to be seen. Like, he's got a new trainer now, and I'm sure Andy Lee is gassing him up and telling him all the right things. But will it be a case of, yeah, he looks good in training, he looks super fast, he's hitting the pads hard, he's doing record runs, you know the way these boxers talk. Yeah, I've done a PB, my 5 mile, I used to do it X amount of time, I've trimmed 30 seconds off it, I've never been in bed. You're going to hear all that talk. But then the first time Derek lands with one of them overhand rights or left hooks, let's see what he's going to do. Is he going to go into his shell and jab and grab and run? Or is he going to stand his ground, let his hands go and try and look impressive? Let's hope it's the latter, but I suspect it could be the former.
Yeah. We'll see, man. Listen, Laurie, wrap it up for today. Want to first of all just big up everybody in the chat, man. Everybody commenting. I couldn't read all the comments today. That's a good sign that I couldn't read all the comments because it shows that we got more people in here. But I did my best to put them up at least so people could see what everyone was saying. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Hit the like video on the way out. Share the video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Let's try and hit that 1,000 mark. A lot of fights taking place this weekend. We got a lot to talk about next week. But until then, big up to all of you guys, man. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Stay safe out there. And yeah, big up yourselves, man. Laurie, do you want to close it off?
Yeah, man. As usual, thanks very much for coming on. For allowing me to come on. It's been an honor and a pleasure. This weekend is the last weekend of boxing before the Christmas break. So let's hope that the fights serve up some good entertainment. Yeah, man, that's all I can say. I am going to watch a fight. And I hope Derek wins, to be honest, because I do like Derek. It's just that, you know, he's reached the tail end of his career now. And all the training in the world, there's only so much you can really do when you get to a certain age, innit? Let's be honest. So I do want him to win. I think he has a chance. But I think it's going to go to points, and I think Joseph Parker's going to get the decision.
All right. Well, big up to everyone, man. We'll catch up with you guys next week. Until then, speak soon, man. Peace out.